Human Settlements Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi conducted a site visit to the areas affected by the KwaZulu-Natal flooding, with many people having lost their lives, houses, properties and other personal belongings. Many people have become homeless, especially women and child-headed homes. We are joined by Minister Kubayi for more in terms of that visit. Thank you very much for availing yourself this evening. According to preliminary reports, what do they indicate?
Good evening, Tutu. Good evening to your viewers at home. I think firstly, let me continue to pass my condolences to the families that have lost their loved ones, as we understand that more bodies are being recovered. As yesterday we were doing the sites in Molweni alone, I was told by the communities that there are still 15 people that are missing, and they're trying to find whether they have survived, or even at least find their bodies so that their loved ones can be able to bury them with dignity. We know that majority of the people are actually finding themselves in halls because either their homes have been completely destroyed or partially destroyed, and they're looking for assistance to be able to start to rebuild their families in their home. It's a devastating issue. We have received a preliminary report as Human Settlements that indicates the districts that have been affected, that indicates the number of households that have been affected, and also those that, for example, because what we have is both affected in terms of fully destroyed, what we call fully destroyed homes, and also those that are actually partially destroyed. If I may go through the figures, just to give the viewers at home what we're dealing with. And this, I must say, it's a number that we expect to continue to rise. So this is what we have done so far. There are communities that we're still battling to gain access to, or the technical teams are battling to get access to, so that they can do assessments. And once that report comes in, we'll be able to do, as we announced yesterday, we're sitting at almost 4,000, and I can say at least 3,937 homes that have been completely destroyed, and 8,039 homes that have been partially destroyed. This is across your province in terms of Umzinyati district, Amajuba, Umgungundlovu, Uchugela, Ugu, Zululand, Mkanyagude, King Ejwayo, Ilembe, and eThekwini Metro. So that's so far the assessment that we have. We'll continue to update as the week goes, and today, this weekend, we're hoping the rain can a bit give us a break so that more work can be done. But it's a bit difficult currently for the teams as water continues to fall down.
As you rightfully mentioned, the number of districts and the number of people that have been affected, we are showing it on our screens for our viewers. We also understand that government has committed some 1 billion rand in terms of relief funding. From a human settlement point of view, how much has been earmarked?
What we are looking at, because if you talk about this 3,937, you have to immediately provide temporary shelters. We know that where they are, for example, in the halls where they are finding themselves, some of them in terms of being, because what we are seeing in the halls, it's not the complete picture, because others are actually staying with neighbors, with relatives. So the number of households would continue to be, as we verify, as I say, it will be an issue. And as we provide these temporary shelters, what we call temporary units, TRUs, will be for those families. One difficulty, though, that we are experiencing and the teams are reporting, and which we understood as well ourselves as we did the visit together with the MEC, Svia, and I must appreciate his work, because most of this preliminary assessment has been done by him. As you know, I could only be at KwaZulu-Natal yesterday. He's been on the ground all along together with the teams, doing the assessment, visiting the families of those who have lost their loved ones. Now, part of the problem is the landscape. Where these houses are sitting, we're likely not to be able to put any temporary structure or any structure, because there's still threat that the soil can move, or where they are, things can continue with the rain because it becomes muddy and all those things. So it becomes an issue. We will be able to move where there is land, where the environment is conducive for us to put the temporary shelters. As I'm saying, I'm extremely worried about eThekwini, and that's why we were saying if we could find an alternative land, it will be an issue that we can be able to move in. and provide those temporary shelters. Because as we moved, for example, the last stop where I was yesterday, you could see that you can't even move into that area and put temporary shelters because the soil or erosion, it has completely moved away and moved with the houses. So you can't go there and try and put temporary shelters. Together with where we went, the first house where we were climbing, though we could see that we can put temporary shelter, I'm still uncomfortable. We have promised the family, because one of the mud houses fell off, and we promised that by Tuesday they will be able to get their temporary shelter. The only concern I have is that the landscape or the slope where they are might continue to move if the rain continues to fall. So those are some of the challenges, and my fear again is engagement with the communities. And perhaps one of the things that we as human settlement will have to look at, it's around social facilitation, because some of the communities, when you start talking about moving them, you do find, with our experience, you find difficulties, because they will tell you that we want to stay here, it's closer to where we work. But especially with us as Africans, some of us very closer to where we stay. And then as you say, people move, they tell you, you are moving us away from us, our ancestors and where we've buried. So we're hoping, as we have these conversations of trying to rebuild, social facilitators will assist us to make these conversations easier, because it will not be easy for us as government to penetrate through. And that's why we were calling for community leaders as well to come forth and assist us. We continue to call even the religious leaders, because, and NGOs, we do see some of the NGOs are on the ground providing relief. And we do believe that psychosocial responsibilities or support would be needed, even for us as human settlement, to be able to engage properly with the communities. It's going to be something that we need support from.
Minister Kubayi, a number of figures have been bandied about, and they are associated as contributions and pledges from human settlements entities like community schemes, Ombudsman, a figure of 30 million rand, the National Home Builders Registration Council, there's also a figure, and the Social Housing Regulatory Authority with a figure of 100 million rand. Are you aware of this? Can you confirm this for us, and how will those monies be distributed? Are there any timelines?
Yes, I announced this. It's part of the work. When I met with the team last week on Thursday, was precisely to say all of our entities, we have a duty, we have a responsibility as Team Human Settlements to come on board and support KZN and be able to do the work. The figures are correct. Part of what we have to do now is to request, for example, with the CISOs, we're going to request a treasury approval to be able to move those funds. They are sitting as surplus for us, and then we'll have to move them into being able to support KZN. I have requested the KZN HOD yesterday, together with the CEOs, to have an urgent meeting so that they can agree on a process. What I would not want to see is the commitments that are made through the boards, and then you find that a month later we are still discussing and finding mechanisms of implementing. We all have to understand that this is an emergency, and that has been my message to the team. It is an emergency, and we've got to come on board. The need is dire, being on the ground, seeing the families and where they are finding themselves. It's not something that we could take long. And that's why even, for example, we've asked for support in terms of our entities to say, can we come on board and see what we can do? So technical support is not only the financial support, it's also technical support. So to confirm, the amount that we are talking about, yes, is 30 million for CISOs. NHBRC will be giving technical support, because you'd understand that the capacity we have with NHBRC is able to provide assessment and all that in terms of the work. We are also going to look if we can additionally find reprioritization of funds, and we'll announce once this is done, and the board has made commitment on that. Social Housing Regulatory Authority, yes, has released, is committed 100 million to support. You understand that we also have social housing and all that. We'll look into that and be able to provide. National Housing Finance Corporation has provided an amount of 150 million from the debt relief so that we can be able to utilize, but also from their corporate social investment, 2 million, that can be utilized to support additionally for KwaZulu-Natal, but also the issue around what we call project management capacity that they have, that they are availing to us. We are calling for our sector as well, corporate within our sector, to be able to help us. I mean, it would be nice to hear corporate, whether it's estate agents, whether it's private developers who are coming through to say, we will donate 30 houses that we'll build as a contribution to rebuilding the communities in KwaZulu-Natal. That's what I'm making a call for. When yesterday I said we want to see corporate South Africa coming on board, that's what we are expecting. We hope that they will raise their hands as we see other corporates raising their hands.
Minister, how worried are you about the misappropriation of funds? We sit with SIU reports, we sit with SIU activities, a number of commissions and a number of reports where monies went to not where they were supposed to, I guess, essentially. This is something that is devastating, and here we have people that are worried that these monies will not reach the people that it needs to reach.
Look, from human settlements, we already have systems to deal with emergency funding. Yes, we should be concerned, but I think one of the problems is that we should not divert the attention to the need, because the issue is that we've got to get the money where the people are needing. One is that I have appealed to those that will be appointed to do the service on our behalf to ensure that they work within the timeframes and deliver within the budget. Efficiency and effectiveness, that's what we expect from these entities. Secondly, is that we have engaged Minister Gungubele. In my discussion with him, he has assured me that the Auditor General's team have been already assembled to assist us in auditing as we continue, so that lessons are learned from what we did with COVID-19 in terms of implementation, in terms of work, and definitely where there's wrongdoing, we will bring in the law enforcement agencies such as SIU to assist us. We've seen what we have done with the Dalana case, with the East prosecution. But not only that, we are recovering funds and we are prosecuting those who are responsible. But what we want to see more is not to react, but to prevent. And that's why we are bringing in monitoring and evaluation up front. That's why the Auditor General's team up front. But where we are saying human settlements have been implementing emergency grants with disasters, and therefore there's been lessons out of that. For example, if you look at what we did with KZN and the voucher system, when Pietermaritzburg area was hit by the disasters, they implemented that, and so far we've not received any allegation of corruption around those implementation of dealing with those disasters. Actually, we received positive feedback from communities which said that the turnaround time this time was quicker, and they could assist themselves, didn't have to wait for contractors to be appointed to fix their roofs. So that's those are some of the lessons that we have learned, and we have improved our policy to be able to be agile, to be flexible, so that it can respond quickly into the issue. And we're just saying, once we get access to these communities to be able to do the work, we will be able to deliver on our services.
Ma'am, you speak of lessons learned. I guess going into the future and maybe drawing from recent history, there's been a number of criticism, or critics have leveled criticism against the Department of Human Settlements in terms of people occupying space that should not be inhabited by people, as a direct result of the failure of government to make sure that people have dignified places to stay on and in.
Look, I can say to you and your viewers, the issue here is that there's been lessons learned, as I say, and we have improved in terms of service delivery, but we've equally ensured that we do have systems that are responding. We have prosecutorial processes that are assisting us, and therefore that's what we are looking into. I don't think it will be fair for us to be judged and say upfront we will not be able to deliver the services that we have committed to. So I am expecting that from the team, both myself and the MEC are very clear on what we need to do, and also we are very clear in terms of ensuring that our team understands that our work is critical and we should never take for granted the pain and the loss of the people of KwaZulu-Natal.
Mmamoloko Kubayi is the Minister of Human Settlements. Thank you very much, ma'am, for availing yourself this evening.